How can you watch the Club World Cup?
You can watch it on DAZN. You can watch it on DAZN for free, and we'll even have a little mini Club World Cup pod as well today.
That's
on all our channels, because we've got to deal with DAZN, and as such, we promote the fact that you can watch their games, all the games, free on DAZN.com. So I recommend you do that. It's a really good tournament, believe it or not. If you can remove all the noise and the cynicism that everyone had upon their shoulders leading into this tournament, because it's an easy target, let it all go. Just for the pure footballing sense, it's a lot of fun so far, and we'll explain more of that with our good friend Cara Lang in our Club World Cup mini pod later today. But today, it's the night after that match for Canada in the Gold Cup. But before we get to their match itself, I think it's important that people confront others when they've been wronged or they feel they've been wronged. Otherwise, these little seeds can grow into these cancers and can drive wedges between friends, colleagues. And it happened yesterday with one of us, someone that we love very much and who's dear to our heart, who's a massive part of what we do here. But someone that up until this point has refused to dance with us. With us, Footy Prime, his family, his extended family. We play music all the time. The Club World Cup has a great little theme song that JC created. We're having a good old time.
So catchy.
The jazz hands. It's catchy. One person refuses to dance, and that's our brother in arms, James Horatio Brennan. So fair enough. Some people just don't like to dance and they feel self-conscious. Fair enough. And then you see them fucking dance on national television. And you think to yourself, what has that network got that we haven't got? Can we play it?
Money.
Money? Is that it? So Camila Gonzalez, host of TSN Soccer Coverage, does a fantastic job, by the way. She's convinced Jimmy and Kevin there to, I don't know what you're doing, but it's some kind of Latino dance. And look, you're so involved, Jimmy. You're loving it. Why? Why won't you do it for us, but you will for Camila?
Do you know what? I think it's the Spanish in me. When I hear that Spanish music, it just gets me going. I feel like I'm on holiday.
So if we put a Latin beat to some of our music, you might think about dancing.
Well, listen, I'll tell you this. With JC's new song that he has for this FIFA Club, you've seen me bob my head a little bit because it's very, very catchy.
Do we? Do we see you bob your head?
Yeah.
Do you bob the head?
He did one of these ones. After
your
your prodding, actually, Dubs.
Yeah.
Well, funny enough, I did actually put a little tiny bit of a Latin flair on our Club World Cup song. So maybe we should have a little listen and see if it gets Jimmy's head bobbing this time.
Everybody, join the club. It's the Club World Cup on Footy Prime.
All right.
Finally.
There you go.
Oh, that was the missing ingredient, was it, Jimmy?
That was it. That was it, clearly. All right. I'll accept that. I'll kind of forgive you for that then a little bit.
But I did let myself down. Yeah, let's move on from that. Hopefully
Kevin Kilbane was right into it, by the way. Kevin Kilbane was right into it. All right. So listen, Canada against El Salvador. Man, that first half, we've seen. I don't want to say it's the worst half of football I've ever seen, because we've seen some dreadful halves involving Concacaf teams. This is nothing new to those of us that have endured Concacaf for so many years. It's what some teams do. They want to disrupt. They got no interest in playing football. But quite honestly, Craig, it was a fucking disgrace. And it was dangerous. It was embarrassing. It wasn't football. I'm glad that Canada kept the composure, but I was angry at halftime from those tactics by El Salvador. Angry.
I was just happy to see that nobody got seriously injured. There was a lot of on the dark web back and forth about somebody's going to get hurt here. And the referee, I think the referee tried his best to keep people on the field, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Could have been a lot worse for El Salvador. But yeah, can't get those 90 minutes back.
110 because of the stall at the beginning of the game.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. The guy's laying on the ground. That's another tactic. They'll lay on the ground for 10 minutes.
That was quite the first half trifecta by Ortiz, wasn't it?
Well, yeah.
10 minutes on the ground.
The embellishment.
Yeah.
The almost getting, subbed off and then getting sent off. What a scumbag. Like,
sure not good for the neutral or the average fan that's tuning in because Canada's playing and they see that shite.
Dubs, I mean, you've played in Concacaf before, and I think Craig actually tweeted about it. He said how he was happy to see Jimmy on the TSM panel because unless you played in that, you just don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
And we can get angry and throw our arms up in the air and it's wrong and it's disgusting. And I was angry at halftime. Some of us arrogant people say, but unless you played in that, you don't really get it. You don't really understand what was going through those Canadian players' minds in that first half.
You're just trying to keep your composure, as you said, and stick to the game plan, and you're trying to score. You're trying to get the result. You're trying to play your brand of football, and that wasn't football. That was anti-football. So, and I just want to back it up a little bit. Yes, I have played in CONCACAF and dealt with conditions that are similar, but in the women's game, it's never been that bad. And whether it's CONCACAF or South American teams, we sometimes would run into teams who would employ similar tactics. But that was a whole other level. And I get it too. You're trying to throw Canada off their game. You're trying to make it stop-start. You're trying to get them out of the rhythm. You're trying to rattle them with tackles, with the dangerous nature of it. You're trying to force the referee into inserting him or herself into the match. And I think the referee did do a decent job of controlling things in the first half, save for that yellow card that he gave to Luc de Foucherolles. I thought that was just a massive miss. So I think that when he needed to make the right calls, he did. So I get a team like El Salvador trying to do their darndest to stay competitive, and you have to do it by thwarting Canada, not playing your own brand of football. And even though Jesse Marsch talked about this team and in glowing terms, how he respected them and the brand of football that they played and how together they were and how they had a clear identity, but that was not our game. And as for what's going through the players' heads, I think they're not worried about their own welfare, but you're worried about getting a result. And then that frustration starts to set in. And it might be in moments, it might be that cumulative effect, and you have to keep your heads. And I think they did a good job of doing that. And sort of sticking together. And then that moment where Jesse Marsch, right before they go out for the second half, which obviously they're up by 2 men at that point, I think that was like the turning point or the moment where things shifted, where they kind of got their wits about them and they understood what the task was at hand, that even despite 2 men up, it was going to be difficult. Nothing was going to be given to them and they had to earn it.
Jimmy, where's the line to be drawn though? At what point, I don't want to go too far here because they did get out of that game without a serious injury, but at what point does a confederation or a tournament say, okay, there's limits here. There's dangerous play and then there's aggressive play. There's a fine line between sometimes.
Yeah, that whole first half for me, I thought it was ridiculous. It was a terrible look. That's not international football. That was just a bunch of hooligans with no discipline out there playing. They were wound up like a tetherball. And to get 2 players sent off, and then a physiotherapist sent off. When have you ever heard a physio get sent off? It never happens. But it just goes to show you the lack of discipline throughout that whole team. And the tackles that were going in, scissor challenges, they were late on everything. There was an intent to hurt all over the park. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm all for aggressive football, 50-50, fair tackles, going for it, playing hard. But that was just cheap. And the one thing that drove me nuts was every time our guys were going up for a header, they would duck.
Oh, God.
The amount of times where you see Defougerol or Cornelius and others going up and then landing on their backs and shoulders. It's so dangerous, that play. They're not even watching the ball. They're just ducking. And again, you're trying to roll the guy off your back and hurt them and injure them.
Yeah.
But, I thought the second half for Canada I thought it was a professional performance, meaning that they didn't get involved with all the nonsense. They knew they were up 2 men. They let the ball do the work. They play side to side, try to fatigue them a little bit, got 2 goals, and then you walk away with no injuries. But that first half was an absolute disgrace.
I think the 3 games that Canada played in the group stage were good for the education of the players. They've been involved in different styles, different game plans, different opponents, different challenges. So I think overall they've dealt with it quite well in the ugly manner that was. I listened to Richie in his interview after the game, Richie Larea. He nailed it. Jonathan David nailed it as well. Concacaf, chaotic, fouls, time wasting. It's just what you got to get used to, but you have to manage it, whether you like it or not. It's just the beauty of the game, but kind of not.
How about, when talking about an education, Forrest, how about a guy like Nico Segur? Like, this is like an intensive preparation, like a weekend course, Coles Notes version of CONCACAF, right? Where he gets a full dose of everything he's heard about. And then, it's right there. And now he's got it. Now he's armed with it as he moves forward. And I think Canada's better off for it. Why? Why are we doing the Club World Cup highlights?
And it's Bayern Munich, a big loss yesterday to Benfica, who snuck through to the. Keep going, Dubs.
Let's roll in Jimmy dancing again. This segue.
But Dubs. So if you're Nico Segur, it's a great point. I love that. It is. It's like, wow, here you go. Here's the exam. You got one 90 minutes to prepare for it. But he's playing central midfield, which is his natural position. But he's playing there for the first time for Canada. And it's not the best game, is it, really, though, to find your feet back in that position for a new team, essentially? Because, I mean, he wasn't really that involved in the end. And it was no fault of him, I don't think. It's just he didn't play through that part of the field.
No, they didn't. For me, I think that Canada wanted to attack the wings, and that's where they were trying to generate most of the chances, was either Schaffelberg or DAZN. And I think they could have done themselves some favors if they tried to move through the middle of the park a little bit more, try to break lines, attack those central areas and get at the box that way. I think I shared a stat in the dark web and promised David towards the end of the first half. I think he ended with 5 touches, and he had that great opportunity at the end off that cross from Cornelius. But I think it's the game as well, right? When you've got Defougerol and you've got Cornelius, who are starting the build-up play at the halfway stripe, it's tougher for the likes of Chouanier and for Segur to influence the game. You can still get on the ball, but I think Canada saw the spaces to exploit were in the channels, and they were successful in that way, but lacked that final decision, that clinical edge when they did get the opportunities. I don't know if you saw it that way, Jimmy, from your vantage point covering the match.
Yeah, I did. I knew what they were trying to do, get down the flanks, obviously, and use DAZN's pace and Schaffelberg's. But it just felt like every time they got in behind, the fouls that were coming in. What about the clothesline on Tajon Buchanan?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. My kids were upstairs brushing their teeth because it was Saint Jean Baptiste here, and they were like, what happened? What happened? Because I was like, whoa.
There could be more than 2 reds. There should have been.
It was like watching wrestling at times. Even on set plays, the way that they were marking. I couldn't believe it. And I think that's where I thought, and I understood the game plan, because the fullbacks didn't have the pace to cope with our 2 wide players. And they wanted to get down the flanks. But every time they did, you think how many times Schaffelberg got smashed trying to get in behind. And same with DAZN. Now, trying to play through the middle, I think that's a game against El Salvador more for Estequio, who can get on the ball, who can play it, who can control the match, right? And you're right. There was a couple of penetrating passes that went into the big man, and they tried to link up play. But I just felt at times they needed to get on the ball and control possession a little bit better than what they did. And I understand sometimes you want to go, but when a team like that is trying to stop your rhythm, you've got to find your own way to get into a rhythm and make them work and pull them out of positions. And yeah, it was difficult. I know exactly what it's like, and you guys both do, playing against CONCACAF teams when they are nasty, they're dirty, they're late in their challenges, and they stop you and they frustrate you. But the second half was a little bit better, wasn't it? They actually got on the ball, they controlled it, and it was a better performance. But I understand why they wanted to get down the flanks. And I think if El Salvador wasn't playing the way that they were, and that little bite and dirtiness, I think it would have been a different story for our players. Because DAZN was in then. He was in.
He was excellent. I thought he was excellent again. Hey, Craig, I mean, is it difficult? I mean, in that kind of game, Canada, okay, all the nonsense aside, they weren't great in this game, it's fair to say. But how difficult is it for a team to find their game in those
conditions? It's incredibly difficult. When you're busting the game up and there's stops and fouls and people laying on the ground for 10 minutes, it's really, really difficult. You just want to get through the 90 minutes without being injured. I was glad that it looked as though Jonathan David had a contract at Juventus, but now we're hearing that maybe he doesn't have a contract at Juventus, and agent fees potentially could be holding that deal up. So those are the types of games.
Didn't you think, Craig, there's one challenge on him? I thought, oh my God, like, this is why he shouldn't be playing without a contract. Because that was an inch away, or one stud being caught in the ground from a very serious injury.
It was a 2-footed challenge.
Yeah.
And he catches him as he goes through, and he stays down after the play goes back towards Canada's goal. And I was like, oh no, this is not good here. And then you saw the reticence, and again, to Forrest's initial point, to give cards in the second half. I think cognizant of the fact that, you give a couple more, and then all of a sudden you have to call the game off. You can't keep going.
Right?
Yeah.
Well,
but the amount of scissor. Yeah, the amount of scissor challenges were just ridiculous. How many times they were coming off the ground, 2-foot scissors, straight leg challenges. It was mind blowing. I couldn't believe what I was watching at times. And you're right. I'm so happy that nobody got injured. I thought Jesse was good on the sidelines. I mean, you heard him yelling on the pitch a couple of times. To Richie, to Kone, keep your head, don't get involved, walk away, get him out of certain situations. Because that's
keep the ball moving and away from them was really important. I thought that was a little bit better second half. You don't want to be involved in any 50-50s with them.
Yeah.
I was watching Richie and DAZN very closely, because both of them have that element. Richie we know about, but so's DAZN. He plays with an edge, and we've seen him react in the past. And he seems to have matured, doesn't he? And I tell you what, and I said it last night to you guys on the dark web, but if we're talking last week about where his future lies. If you're into Milan, you just bring him to camp and see what he's got, because he's playing so well right now, and you can still loan him out before the deadline in September, whenever that is, end of August. But there's no reason why Inter Milan wouldn't bring him back and involve him in the preseason, because Craig, he looks to me to be as good as he's ever been right now.
I would agree with that. And I would also agree that, we talked about Richie Larea when he went to Nottingham Forest. I think that he deserved an opportunity, and I believe that he would have done very well. But for some reason, this is why there's a lot of luck in the game too, depending on where you go, who the manager is, and whether they like you or not. And if they don't like you, then you're stuck and you're just spinning your wheels. So it doesn't look as though that's going to happen, Sharms, but he needs to be, in somewhere like Villarreal was a good fit for him. But yeah, as long as he keeps doing what he's doing, everything will be just fine for him.
Dub's Promise, you mentioned it, had some really good chances, wasn't really that involved, especially in the first half. He hasn't done enough to took himself out of this team. But when you look at the rest of the tournament, do you think Jesse has to go with his preferred 11 now? And does that involve Promise, David?
I think that it does. I think you look at that match and obviously look at his performance and where he can do better, where we know he has the capacity to do better, which is in those moments, that header at the back post, the one that I already mentioned. There's that one where, and you're talking about DAZN's maturity. I think you see it there where he pulls Promise away from the goalkeeper in the confrontation after he kind of goes underneath the El Salvadorian, is that correct?
Yeah,
okay.
That right?
Goalkeeper, the opposition's goalkeeper. What's that?
El Salvadorian.
Right.
Yabba dabba do.
But you kind of see the frustration maybe boil over there a little bit, because I think he understood that he maybe had some opportunities to change the match, and he wasn't able to do it. But he'll grow. I think he has the right mentality. I think you heard it when he was on this show. Like, we were really impressed with him, the way that he not only is candid, but that he seems to have all the right attributes, but also the right attitude in the way that he approaches things. So Jesse Marsch will be honest with him in his assessment of his performance, but it's also within the context of that match. So I think you absolutely, if I'm Jesse Marsch, I'm going with that attacking tandem again. I put the Davids together and see how it goes. But I mean, I wanted to go back to Tayshaun again, and we were talking about this in a dark web, and maybe just quickly before we move on to something else, if you had a 5-player street fight team to put together that had to be swashbuckling and effective to fight in the deep, dark alleys of CONCACAF, who would be on your team?
Okay, this is a good one. Let's get into this, shall we?
Mm-hmm.
Jimmy, let's start with you. Who you got? So from this current squad,
Yeah.
in a street fight, are we including knives?
No, I think it's
no, just a scrap.
Yeah, fisticuffs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Jimmy, who you got?
So I got to pick 5 players from this current squad for a fight.
Yep.
And I'm on the sidelines watching. Or am I involved?
well, we know you'd be involved, Jimmy, but on the sidelines to start.
Quite honestly, if I was going to pick a former player in a fight, Jimmy's the one.
Interesting.
The red mist comes over Jimmy like nothing else.
I want to see this. I don't want to see it.
No, it's he can fight, man. He can fight.
So you can sub in, Jimmy, but your crew's got to be current.
Are you, sorry, very quickly, Jimmy, are you a street fighter when you go, or are you more of a the sweet science?
I'm a lover. I'm a lover, not a fighter. I think I'm going to take Alistair Johnson. Definitely is going to be in there for me. He's got something about him. I would like to take. I mean, he's nice as pie, but he's got to have some bite in him. Big Promise David. I think I need a big guy there.
Yeah.
So that's 2 for me. I think I'm going to take maybe Bambino. I think I'll have him and take big center back for me.
Yeah.
Richie Larea.
Richie Larea.
Richie's got to be there. Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
And I think I'd take Max Croupeau because I think he could take a few punches. And give some back. You know what I mean? He's
a big lad if he gets a hold of you.
Yeah.
I thought he was excellent last night. He stood there brilliantly all game.
Yeah, wasn't too busy, was he?
No, I didn't even know. Honestly, I think he went for a shower. Like it was. He didn't have a shot on net, that's a good thing, I suppose.
He could have brought out a desk and said, "You know what? I'm going to catch up on my stocks and look at my finances." Put his glasses on.
Yeah,
he had nothing to do. And I wanted I wanted to go back to with that. It was so unwatchable. I went to sleep. I fell asleep with the TV on. And really? I didn't watch the last 2 goals or the 2 goals because the first half crushed me. And I always think about the watchability, going back to our conversation earlier about introducing this is the game that introduces people. Like last night's specific game is the game that introduces people to Canada soccer. And that is a bad look. And it's not their fault. It's CONCACAF football, but these are the things that I grew up with. This is where you'd see these. Why I wasn't a soccer fan until the Prem, until we had because I was watching these things and saying, God, first of all, it's really dangerous. But just the last night, the ref I thought did a pretty good job. But back in the day, seeing people freak out on the sideline when they really were CONCACAF even more, it was not fun to watch. And last night's game was almost unwatchable.
CONCACAF
last night's isn't ammunition for all the people who hate the game.
Yeah. No, the CONCACAF football is not your entry level football. CONCACAF is for someone that already understands and watches football and knows how great and beautiful it is, and then has to, witness this on occasion. You can't be introduced to football through CONCACAF, otherwise you'll just throw it out with the garbage.
That's our thumbnail. Is CONCACAF football unwatchable? That's what we're gonna go up with.
There are some good games.
I know.
There is some good games, but it just seems to be the usual suspects that kind of let it down. Those certain teams, and El Salvador is one of them. I mean, don't get me wrong. I've watched some good matches in this Gold Cup. Entertaining football, and with Jamaica, Costa Rica, Panama, some good football being played, but El Salvador is one of those teams that just seem to let it down every time that they end up playing.
It was a different El Salvador, though, Jimmy, because Craig, JC, and I did stay around to watch the El Salvador-Honduras game on Saturday. It was not like this.
No.
It was up and down. It was a track meet.
They had a jump skill, that's why they got the advance.
Incredible, right? Like just the different, it was Jekyll and Hyde El Salvador dubs. And it made a big difference, I think, just where they were and with the end of they didn't have a chance. So, hey, go out. And they all this looks like an older team too. A lot of these guys look like, we talk about Auckland in the Club World Cup. Some of these guys look like they've been, working 48 hours doing another job too.
Eating cushions.
Eating what?
Eating cushions. They're a little on the
Oh yeah, there was when one guy fell down.
Dominguez, the center back.
Yes, his belly was showing, and I'm like, and then they go, this 39-year-old. No, I'm just kidding, but he was. I think he's 36 or something. Yeah, with a full dad bod, and I'm like, I don't look too bad.
I like seeing that.
Yeah, I do too.
Gives me hope sometimes.
Yeah.
Hey, Dubs, just going back to your question earlier. I know we didn't address your top 5 Street Fighters.
Yeah.
Did you disagree with anyone on Jimmy's team, or have you got someone else?
I thought they were really good shouts, and I loved the Kripo reasoning for having him in there. And he could be on my team any day, but I think I swap Max out and I slide Shaf in. I think Shaf can be on my team any day.
Well, East
Coast,
right?
He could take a punch, and then right back up, wipe the blood off, look at it, and then come right back.
With you think so? Do you?
Yeah,
complete psychopath. Yeah. We've interviewed Shaf before. He doesn't strike me as a psychopath, but then psychopaths generally come across very good in those scenarios, right?
To be clear, we're not calling
Ted Bundy. Ted Bundy was a lovely guy until he started killing people.
Quite charming.
He was charming.
So you got the knock of the man.
Jesus.
Richie seems to me he's the kind of guy that you have to pull off someone though at the end of the fight, right? Isn't he?
Oh yeah.
You always know that guy, and you have to literally pull him off before he kills the person. That's Richie. He's also a little bit psychopathic.
Hold on, you got to pull him off before he kills the guy.
It's his king.
Yeah.
Fighting.
The street fight took a turn.
Sounds like Ted Bundy.
There were so many CONCACAF moments, obviously the how dangerous it was and how ridiculous and anti-football that was. But when Shaf earns the penalty, that great run he gets by the defender, and it's that scissor challenge that Jimmy was alluding to. Jonathan David's about to step up for it, but there's 5 minutes of a gong show within the 18-yard box while the referee tries to organize everything. David finally gets the ball away from the goalkeeper, and then off to the side, there he is, Richie Larea. So if I'm John David, I know he goes on to miss that, and that wasn't great, but I think he has to do better in those moments, even though they're so pressure filled and they're so difficult to manage. But I mean, to have a guy like Richie Larea in your corner in those moments, that's the type of intangible that he gives that team. He can play left fullback, he can play right fullback, but he's just this constant menacing presence, but also somebody who's going to go to bat for you at every turn.
Yeah. He's got your back.
I agree. I was thinking to myself, and you always put yourself in these situations. And I think if I was there at the moment before the penalty and all the scuffles, I would have actually said to Jonathan David, go get a drink of water. Get out of here. Just go clear your head because you're taking this penalty. And once it's cleared out, come in and grab the ball and do it. Don't be in the middle of it all. Mm-hmm. And I think maybe that just kind of distracted him a little bit, all the nonsense that was going on, and the El Salvadorian players walking past him, saying a few things. And I just felt someone should have grabbed Jonathan David and said, get out of here, get out of the box. Just go for a little walk, relax.
Maybe that's something they learn, like from now on, because you see it more often, right? In the pro game and the club game where there's a plan. Like if Mo Salah is taking the penalty for Liverpool, it's designated players are going in, they're dealing with the opposition's goalkeeper, they're dealing with the ball, they're dealing with the potential scrum around that taker. And at the last instant, they flip the ball to the penalty taker. So this is maybe something that Canada plans for the next time.
Do they have a penalty coach, or is that fall under the expertise of the set piece coach?
That's interesting. I don't know if it would be under Nico Gagno's umbrella.
It's considered a set piece, isn't it? A penalty? Is it?
I don't think classically, traditionally, no.
No, it's not. It's not.
In my opinion, I don't know if you guys think any different.
No, I don't think you need a set piece coach to teach you how to take a fucking penalty.
Well, maybe you do.
You tweeted about it though, right? You tweeted about the miss, but also about the approach, right? Didn't you yesterday?
Who, me?
Yeah.
I was actually just more concerned just down the road in the World Cup that if Canada goes deep in the tournament, they're probably going to have to win a penalty shootout.
Yep.
And I think we need to work a little bit of work on that. I mean, Jonathan David normally is pretty good at it. Everybody misses penalties, but we've had a few big ones and big moments.
I was just about to say
the World Cup against Belgium is a good one. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that's the one. I was just about to say before that was taken. I was going to go in the dark web and say, can you believe that Fonzie actually took that penalty from John David back in the World Cup 3 years ago?
That's right.
And it didn't. I held off. Thankfully, it wouldn't have worked so much. I'm trying to find some of his penalty record here.
It's pretty strong.
They had a little bit of experience against Ukraine. Who was it? Cote d'Ivoire. And a penalty shootout that meant absolutely nothing, apparently, because Canada still won the Canadian Shield. But those are good experiences that will help you down the road. But they also lost that penalty shootout.
Stacks, do you think that the penalty was just a perfect height for the keeper?
It was, yeah. I mean, he really did. I mean, it was telegraphed. I mean, if you're a goal, it looked like he got a jump on that, and it was quite clear he was going to go to the keeper's left, and it was that perfect height. Yeah.
How about what ensued, though? Like it was a perfect height for the goalkeeper, but then the rebound goes into the corner. DAZN gets a hold of it. He gets cleared out, earns the free kick, and then Alistair comes in to try to get the ball, and then he gets elbowed in the head. And that's the second red card.
Stupid, wasn't it?
It's like, what's happening here?
Thank goodness there's VAR, because back in the day, the amount of stuff that you saw, like remember Paul Pescasolito getting sent off in Panama City, and he had a reputation for getting sent off and for silly stuff. But Bob Lenarduzzi, the coach, was really, really pissed off with Pesci after the game and getting sent off again. He's like, no, you got to watch the video. And he was standing on a corner in front of the goalkeeper, Panamanian goalkeeper. The keeper moves around him, elbows Pesci in the face, and then the keeper drops. So Pesci doesn't even hit the deck. He's just like takes the elbow in the face, and then the keeper drops, and he's just looking at him like, what's going on? Referee runs over, red card to Pesci. I got sent off in that game too.
Was it a good red card though? Was it worth it?
The guy went down like a sack of shit. It was one of those ones where it's lifted high.
I don't know what that means. Is that good or bad? Sack of shit.
Well, I'll tell you, the ball goes up in the air. The referee's already blown offside, and I'm watching it come out of the air, and I just catch it, and the Panamanian guy just comes and he just runs into me. And what I should have done is hit the deck.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't. I stood on my feet and I gave him a little love tap in the ankles. Like I was just like, what are you doing? Well, he hit the deck.
Oh, Christ.
And he was rolling around like I shot him. And I'm just like, look at the ref. I'm like, ref, have a word. And he just red carded me like so fast. Yeah, Paul Dolan had to come in. We were down 2 men. I think we held on to a draw in the end. But
you were saying, Kreger, too, it's the performative actions of the Concacaf referees that are a bit much for you too, right?
Right in your face. Like, give him a card.
That shit makes me.
Pesci got sent off in Vancouver against El Salvador. He was having a little wrestling match with some guy in the corner, and they got up, and the corner flag was right there. So Pesci grabs the corner flag and boinks him right in the head.
Well, that's fair enough, then.
Well, my God, you would have thought that guy lost an eyeball. He was just in agony. And Pesci got sent off.
It just makes me hate the sport. These kind of incidents. It really does. Nothing more. I hate it when I see the embellishment like that. Oh, God. By the way, according to AI, which is never wrong, Jonathan David has taken 30 penalties in his career, missed 6 of them. So he's got a very good record.
He's taken how many, sorry?
30, and he's missed. Sorry, taken 36. Sorry, taken 36, and he's missed or saved 6 of them. So 30 out of 36, which I think is pretty good.
Well, I think you could figure out the percentage there, couldn't you?
I probably could. No, I couldn't. Go right ahead, though, Wonger. If you've awoken from your halftime slumber last night.
I wanted to just add before we maybe move on that we bemoan the fact maybe that Canada didn't use our central midfielders more effectively, or those two weren't more influential in Choinière and Segur. But then you look at this in the second half, Canada comes out with that renewed vigor, a plan to play the ball quicker, and you see that great pass from Choinière. He pressures the El Salvadorian player, doesn't draw the foul, and they're able to keep it in the attacking third. And then he plays that great pass to John David to open the scoring, and then Segur involved on Tejan's goal. So like the two of them ended up being, I think, an integral part of Canada scoring those goals.
Did either one of them cement themselves in that midfield for the next match, Jimmy?
I mean, look, I think it's a tough one because the way the game went in the first 45 minutes, you didn't really get to see Choinière and Segur kind of get a hold of the game and dominate, because they weren't allowed to, because it was ridiculous. Second half, they controlled it, but then again, you're only playing against 9 men, right? So I think it's a little bit of a false representation when just because of the way the game went. You would have rather it have been a good competitive match where you could see the two of them and see how well they do together. But against Guatemala, I mean, what are your other options? Do you stay with Choinière and Segur? I thought they were good, but then I also think Saliba deserves a shot, because I think Saliba's been very, very good.
And do you think Eustachio's involved?
It sounds like he's not coming back, right? I know Porto are talking about their pre-season changing given their performance at the Club World Cup. So there's a chance he's not back.
I don't think he's coming back.
Mm-hmm.
So in that case, okay, so go around the table. Who's starting against Guatemala in the center of midfield? Dubs?
I think it is Choinière and Saliba.
Jimmy?
I think Choinière, Saliba.
Mm-hmm.
Greg?
I think the same. Yeah, I like Saliba. He's played very well. He's unfortunate not to get the start against El Salvador.
He's got 2 goals, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can't knock him.
Nope.
All right. Well, go ahead.
I was just going to add that I saw this in Josh Cloak's article this morning, that Canada's group stage has featured 3 different combos of starting central midfield pairs, 3 different starting center back duos, and 2 different forward combinations. So I think now you move forward into the knockouts and you see a little bit more consistency with that 11.
Let's try and get a trophy, right?
Yeah.
Now's the chance. You got through this. Let's be honest, it's an awful freaking group phase apart from the Honduras match. Ugly.
You might get a little bit of the same against Guatemala. They're just not kind of similar builds and physically and tactically about the same. But it's been a long time since Guatemala's had a competitive side.
Oh, good. Team playing for a 0-0 penalties. Excellent.
Yeah.
Can't wait for that one, Wonga. Get you sleeping for that.
Good for
There you
Canada to try to break down those deep blocks, because we still have some problems with that. It's not usual that we play against opposition that will sit back against us. So it's good practice.
That's Sunday, 4 p.m. Eastern. So it's the early one. Thank God, I'm exhausted. These late games killing me. Can't stay up to midnight.
No, Friday nights or Saturday night's game though. Mexico versus Saudi Arabia, Panama, Honduras at 7:15 on Saturday, and Sunday late is the 7:00 match. USA, Costa Rica.
That should be a good one, actually.
Mhm.
Very interesting. Canada will play the winner of that, assuming they get past Guatemala.
Yeah.
Are you happy Canada's on this side of the bracket, or do you think it would have been better on the other side?
You mean avoiding the US?
Well, they're on the side right now with Guatemala, the States, and Costa Rica.
Mhm.
Or do you think it would have been easier on the other side with Panama, Saudi Arabia, Mexico?
No, I think I like our side.
Mm-hmm.
What do you
The
think?
States don't instill fear, given this particular squad. Even though they won 3 straight games, they are playing better, but it's still not there. They're missing 5 or 6 guaranteed starters. So I think Mexico is more of a concern than the States, wouldn't you say, Craig?
I would think so, but yeah, the States have done the job. They got it done. So never going to be easy, especially when you're playing away from home all the time. It's not easy.
Jimmy, are you on the on those calls on Saturday or Sunday?
Yeah. Sunday.
Okay, cool. Sunday.
You gonna dance again, Jimmy?
No,
That was it.
Finished.
Looked like you guys were doing like the pat the head, rub the belly.
Yeah.
Or rub the head, pat the belly. You know that one you used to do as kids?
Yeah.
Can you do it?
Yeah.
I can. Yeah.
Rub, pat.
Pretty good. Can do it. Actually, yeah, I can do it both
Hey,
hands.
make a TikTok, Sharms.
Hey, Macarena.
Yeah. It's got to go viral somehow.
I think I heard a boop. Did Cara get here?
Well, I did a rap and I did a time and no one noticed and we kept talking. So.
Okay, well let's try again. Give us a sign again.
Rap.
Well, that was Footy Prime for another day, wrapping up the Gold Cup success of Canada last night. We're back tomorrow, getting you. Okay, we'll get some more information today about Canada, maybe some more insight into starting 11s, etc.
Also, Concacaf conspiracies. Our YouTube is going crazy with what they think of Concacaf after the Jesse Marsch verdict. So quite interesting.
We want more of that. We want more of that. So,
yeah, we're
Jesse,
going to. Yeah.
If you wouldn't mind, do something reckless.
No.
Helps us. No, it helps us, Dubs. Our numbers go way up when
we still don't want it.
Canada.
Yeah. And Club World Cup, we're going to be doing the Club World Cup mini pod, and you can watch everything on DAZN. Stream free all month long.
Did you hear it's free?
I did, Forrest.